Hey, my name is Brooke. Thank you for joining me today. If you are new here, I talk about random houseplant things, DIYs on my shorts, and pretty much anything that comes to mind to my houseplants. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed, so you can be in on all of the other plant videos. So today we are going to be talking about a few plant regrets or plants that I've just fallen out of love with. So yes, I have plant regrets. Who doesn't? I think everyone who collects plants at some point has one plant in their collection where they regret it. And I have several, as you can see here in front of me. So I'm going to talk about each plant and kind of what I regret or why I don't love it anymore. Let's get started. The first plant that we're going to start out with is this Philodendron White Knight that I just spilled soil all over. So this is the Philodendron White Knight, and it's going to be a no for me. I got it because actually it was probably a 3-leaf plant like this at the time that I got it, but I did just yesterday chop it back because I was sick of looking at it. But I bought this plant because one of the leaves that it had a lot of white on it, and I was really excited about it. I thought it would be a higher variegation. I bought it because it had a higher white variegated leaf, and I thought the plant is going to continue that way, or in hopes that it would continue that way, and it just didn't. This was the only other white leaf, so that white leaf died off. If anyone knows, you love those white leaves, but they don't stick around long if you don't give them the right humidity. They are lacking everything they need for photosynthesis, so they are eventually going to die off anyways. They can't produce anything for the plant. Anywho, but it died off, produced this tiny little leaf, almost half moon, and then the rest of the leaves were all green and just splashes of, I would say, burgundy more than white. So it was just really uneventful plant. It was one long stem, growing pretty lanky. I actually have this under a grow light, one of my T5 Barina grow lights, and I just have a feeling it doesn't like the high light. So I think that really affected the variegation. If anyone has any experience with this, I'd be interested, but I think this is an unstable variegation, just like the Pink Princess, so you never know what you're going to get, and I got a bummer. So I just really don't like this plant anymore. It's one I regret buying. I didn't do much research on them. I saw it in store. I'd never seen it in store before. I honestly had never heard of it. So I just saw it and was like, that's cool, fungus gnat. This thing gets fungus gnats. I'm going to be real upset. So I thought it was cool. Didn't do my research on it. Just bought it, on a whim. And it really is unimpressive. This one is one I regret buying. Now, again, I did just yesterday cut this back, and I'm going to propagate the 3 cuttings that I took from it to see if anything else comes from the plant, like what more white variegation. Otherwise, this plant is going to be a 0 for me. I am just not in it. So that is the first one. We have a robot, it's fine. The second plant is going to be this Monstera Sonya. Now, I know these are beloved plants, and they are cool. And yes, I have a Monstera Esqueleto, which is basically the same thing on a larger scale. But this plant just really is... Actually, I think this plant is more of an aversion for me. I just don't like the way it looks. It kind of weirds me out, and it is a spider mite magnet. So I've had this one previously a couple times, and each time I get it, it gets spider mites. Now, this one so far hasn't had any issues, but I did have a problem with it going yellow. It went yellow because, in my experience with these, they don't like my regular old tap water. So I have to use filtered water on these guys. And that to me is just like a no-go. On my Cattleya and my higher end Philodendron, okay, maybe I'll do that. But on a dang Monstera Sonya, no. I'm not doing it. So every time I water it with normal water, it yellows. It gets yellow leaves and they die off. And I'm just tired of it. I'm just annoyed. So it's just this. It's just very frustrating. So if anybody has any experience with this plant and is the same as me, please let me know I'm not going crazy. Maybe I am, because I feel like these are very easy to care for plants. This shouldn't be that difficult. But for me, for some reason, it is. So yeah, that's the reason. This is kind of like just an aversion. Like, I'm just irritated that it's only likes filtered water, and I'm irritated that it gets spider mites because I have had Cattleya and alocasia, and I have never had a spider mite issue on them, but everybody else says that they do. Yet I get a Monstera Sonya and it has spider mites. So I just, yeah, this plant kind of frustrates me. Maybe that's why I don't like it. So this is number 2, Monstera Sonya. Got nothing else to say about it. Number 3 is this Philodendron mikins. Now, it's an easy grower. It's fine. But it's nothing to write home about at all whatsoever. So I just recently purchased a melanochrysum, and that had been like a wish list plant for a really long time. And I love it. I love how it grows, the large leaves, everything. This guy, I will admit I have neglected a little bit. It used to be more full. I broke it when I was watering it one day, so now it's just this lanky, long, small-leafed little plant. And I can't seem to get this plant to get any larger. I have repotted it. I have propagated it and placed, multiple cuttings back into the same pot. I have constantly fertilized it. I don't know. I give it, the right amount of light. I think these require a pretty high light. And so to that extent, no, I have not given it. But it just produces some seriously small leaves. And it's nothing to write home about. So I haven't, I don't have a disdain for this. I'm not trying to get rid of it. But it is definitely a plant that I have fallen out of love with. I definitely would rather have the melanochrysum than this. These will get just as large as a melanochrysum. They will climb if you give them the chance. They will do all the things. But for some reason, this guy just isn't. And I've had this for, it's sad to say, a lot of years. And it's gotten this far. So I don't know. I think I'm just not giving it the right love and care because I kind of just don't care anymore. This is why it's all tangled up, because I just do this. But this is a plant that I'm just not so in love with anymore. The care is easy. I water it once it's dry, and yes, I fertilize it. I think it does require a lot of light if you want the leaves to get a lot larger. Humidity level, it doesn't really seem to do anything. I had it next to a humidifier for years. Seriously, like a humidifier just for this, and it didn't do anything. So it doesn't affect it. It now sits at the top of this shelf, and I don't know, doesn't get in humidity, but this is just a plant I've fallen out of love with. It's the Philodendron mikins. It's a cute little plant, but I don't know, just not. I could go without. If I've seen it in stores, and I kind of just pass on it because it's nothing special. Look at this. It's like, sorry, allergies. It's it's just one long thing. Okay, next is actually 2 in 1, and this is all that's left of them. So this is a Philodendron brandy and a pothos, or a global pothos, whatever. So both of these, yeah, this is what's left of them. This is a regret. Oh, snap, I just spilled water. So the global pothos, it was again a spur of the moment purchase in a Walmart, and it was already looking a little haggard, and I bought it anyways. And yes, it had some issues. I repotted it, but again, the plant was like, so when I repotted it, because I have a video on this, and I think it cut off, but I took all of the plant out of its pot because it was in peat moss mix. I took them out. I mean, when I tell you that like over half the plant didn't have roots, like over half the plant didn't have roots. They were just cuttings, single cuttings, plugged into this pot without roots or anything, and just left. So there's my issue. I mean, in reality, that's my issue of why it didn't grow well, is because basically they were propagations that had no roots and no start and just slowly died off. So that was a bummer, but yeah, I don't know. It's a cool little plant. It has some fun white veining in it and just different colors, but I would totally do a Mandula pothos a golden pothos, a snow queen, anything over this because it's just blah. Another plant that I regret buying is this Philodendron brandy. Literally is 2 cuttings left of it. I think it's a gorgeous plant. I love philodendron. I don't like this plant. It requires extreme humidity, at least in the care that I had, and it does not like to dry out. So I had a small little pot of it. It was a 4-inch pot, and it died quickly. Like, not quickly, actually. It lasted maybe a year and a half or more. But every time, like, I would look at it, there would be a dying leaf. And I don't understand why. So I upped the humidity. I put it under a grow light. I made sure to water it and keep on it. I did not give it filtered water, so that's possibly why it didn't do well either. But it just died. And so I cut the guy back because I didn't like it. I actually put some of it in a terrarium and it's doing really well. But I would say that this is a no-go for me. Yes, I think that if you have the right humidity, maybe use filtered water, don't let it dry out, it will do just fine. But for me, it was just too much for what the plant was. I don't enjoy it. I don't see myself getting one again. But they are very beautiful plants. Like, that's a very beautiful little heart leaf, silvery, gorgeous plant. But I will take my Mammy Eye, and I have a Plowmanny over a brandy any day. So that one's definitely a plant that I have written on my list and will not be getting again. Another plant that I've just kind of fallen out of love with is this Rhaphidophora decursida. It's a really interesting plant, but I think that I'm just not into that. I don't know. It is growing really well. It has this huge new shoot coming off of it right over here, as you can see right there, and another one inside the pot down here that you can see the little tip right there. And it's a really interesting plant, and it does not require a lot of care at all whatsoever. This sits under my Monstera Thai constellation in a southwest facing window, and I water it once it's dry. I just don't know. I just feel like I would rather have a different plant, if I'm being honest. I don't know why I don't like it anymore or why it's not interesting, because it is a great little grower. I feel like I have kind of went away from collecting a lot of different varieties of plants and just focused down on the ones that I actually enjoy, which are really philodendron. And so I think that that's why I kind of just don't enjoy this plant anymore, is because I have siloed in on what I like to grow and what works well for me and what's enjoyable. And so this guy kind of just isn't that anymore. It's just sits under, again, my Thai constellation, chilling, and it clearly likes its life there, but I think I would rather have something different. So this is kind of just a fallen out of love with guy, but it's a very interesting, cool plant if you're into that and looking to get one. It's extremely easy to care for. So great beginner plant for someone out there. Another plant that I actually really love, I just don't have the care for it. And so that is going to be my Staghorn Fern. So this guy's huge. It's doing really well. It actually sits under my Monstera Thai constellation in a southwest facing window, and I water it once it's dry. Now, I love these guys. I think that they make a really cool wall decor. I had one in our old home, and it was mounted on wood, and I really haven't had an issue with these. It's just, again, it's outside of my scope of what I really like to collect, and taking up space, I mean, is the real reality of it. So, because it is quite large, as you can see, it's gotten pretty big. But it's just kind of one of those plants where I'm like, yeah, I could probably get rid of this and give it to somebody who really loves staghorns, and they would have a better time with it. But it really doesn't give me any fuss. I do have it by a humidifier, so I think it loves its life there. Again, southwest facing window, water once dry. I have not even repotted this since I purchased it. And I know that they kind of grow slower on the root side. But it's just one of those plants where I'm like, yeah, I don't really need a fern in my collection. So it kind of gets pushed to the wayside. Just one of those plants that I've fallen out of love with. But it is beautiful. Other plant that I'm over is this Hoya Crimson Princess. Hoya in general, I'm kind of over. I only have 3 Hoya in my collection. Yeah, 3 Hoya in my collection. Cattleya, which is not going to grow, it's just like the single heart plug. This Crimson Queen, another one I'll talk about. But they require a lot of light that I just don't have. And I regret the purchase because I knowingly purchased it, or knowingly got it. I got it knowing that I would not have enough light for this plant, and sure enough, I don't. So Hoya are beautiful. I think that they're really awesome plants and really relatively easy to care for. They require little watering because they are a succulent, and so they store it in their leaves and their stems, and they flower, and all of them flower, and they're beautiful, and that's great. I just don't prefer it anymore. I'm just kind of over it. I'm over my Hoya. Again, I am kind of over the plants that don't fit into my collection anymore, and this is one that doesn't fit into my collection. So it is just taking up space under a grow light that I would much rather put a plant that I would enjoy there. So there's that. But this guy should have pink in his leaves, like this one here, which you can't even see because I'm leaning over the table, but there should be pink in these leaves because it's a princess. It's a pink crimson princess, whatever. But it doesn't, again, because I don't have high enough light for it, even when it is sitting under a T5 Bring to Grow light. So it's just kind of one of those where it's taking up space, and I would rather it just be gone. Another one that is taking up space is this Hoya Calcyx. Again, I think that, oh, this is a carnosa. And so I think this is also a Hoya carnosa, same family. But this is the Calcyx or Splash, and it's an interesting plant. I have no really issues with it other than it requires a lot of light, and light that I would rather give to a plant that I would much rather enjoy. So that's where I really am at with Hoyas. I don't want them anymore because they require so much light, and I just don't have that for them. So it's a really cool plant, easy to grow, likes to climb. I don't know what else to say about it, but I could just go without. That's that guy. Hoya, again, just not enough light. I don't have the right care for them, so I could do without them. Just fallen out of love with them. Another plant, wait, let me move you. Last plant that I really could go without is this Candapsis trebii. It's a cool plant. It's interesting leaves. I searched all of 2020 for one of these things because it was so popular. Do we have a trend here? Popular plants that I don't have the right requirements for. So popular plant, and I'm just over it. It doesn't do anything. I've had this in multiple light situations, and I just don't have something for it, but I just don't enjoy it anymore. I could go without for sure. And now you see them everywhere. So yes, this is a plant that I'm just like over. It's easy to care for. I actually just am so over it that I have it so far back from any window and light, and it's still producing. So pretty easy to care for. I water it once it's completely dry, and yeah, that's about it. So just not into it. Not if we take away anything from here of my plants that I don't enjoy anymore, have fallen out of love with, you will see that it's because I don't have the right requirements for it, which are the Hoya. I don't have the right light requirements, or I purchased the plant because it was popular at the time, and now it's not popular, and now I don't like it. So I would say if you are starting your plant journey and you are or possibly even in this situation where you're just like, I don't love it anymore, like ask yourself, do I really have the right requirements that it takes to grow this plant? Or did I just purchase this because it was cool? And if you answer yes to either one of those, it's probably going to be a plant that you're going to fall out of love with pretty quickly because you're not going to have the brain capacity or whatever to deal with it. So I would say if it's a cool plant, just wait a bit. Wait on it, let it sit, and I think you'll find out that you're just more interested in the chase than you are in the actual plant. And if you like something and love a plant, I would ask yourself, what are their requirements? Do I have those requirements? Because you are going to quickly fall out of love with that plant once you realize it's not going to produce how you want it to because you don't have the right environment for it, and you're going to have a harder time growing it, and you would probably just rather fill that space with a plant that you actually have the light for and the capacity for. Okay, so that's all I have. That's my spiel to you. That's the plants that that's the plants. Those are the plants that I just don't love anymore. I have another one sitting behind me, and I guess I could talk about that. It's a Thaumatophyllum. And yeah, that's just a plant that's not caused a lot of issues. It's had a lot of issues, and I could just do without. But that's another thing. He needs a lot of light and a lot of love, and I just don't have the care for it anymore, and would rather fill his space with something better, in my personal opinion. So that's it. That's all that I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed listening to which plants I don't enjoy anymore or what plants I've fallen out of love with. Let me know in the comments what plants you have fallen out of love with, because it's a normal thing. You go through it. Oh, I see another one. We're not even going to mention that one. But anyways, let me know in the comments what plants or plant you have fallen out of love with in your collection and why in the comments, and make sure to subscribe so you can see more videos from me like this. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.